Here we are on the Gardener's Corner program, and it's always interesting the topics that we talk about sometimes before getting ready to go on the show. And you might be interested to know that the topic we were just talking about were the things that we're going to be addressing on
What do you know about
the
that?
Gardener's Corner program. So what a coincidence.
Yes.
By the way, my name is Rob Hall. We appreciate you tuning in to the Gardener's Corner program, a Friday feature here on WKRX. And we can also be found on Channel 10, located on position 191 of Charter Communications. We're brought to you today by T.G. Brooks Company and Goings Auctioneering. They're having a big auction coming up on Saturday, February 7th in Sims, North Carolina. Sims, North Carolina is located between Raleigh and Wilson, North Carolina. So we'll tell you all about that big auction with Goings Auctions, and also we'll have a word from T.G. Brooks Company, a landmark in Timberlake since 1936. Without further ado, a man that is ready to go. He's just chomping at the bit, so to speak. All the way from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. The wind just kind of blew him in. Mr. Carl Cantalupi.
Good morning, Rob.
And a good morning, sir.
Hi there.
A little breezy today.
Yeah, it sure is. Wow.
Well, you know, one thing about the wind blowing, that'll help dry the ground out a little bit. You know, if maybe people want to get out and start maybe picking up some debris in the yard and things. It won't be so marshy and things. And know it's a slight chance of rain on Sunday into Monday. But, you know, here it is, the last Friday in January. And you know what, Carl? Planting time is in the very near future, so to speak.
It is. It is.
Anyway, we are live in the studio today. If you've got a question for Carl, feel free to give us a call, 336-599-0266. That's 599-0266. Anyway, we're going to be talking about maybe some things that you can start planning, and we just want to do our best to help you achieve the goal of a good garden and a really nice landscape. So again, if you have a question for Carl, you can call 336-599-0266. You're welcome to ask me the question, but, you know, to save you a lot of headache and heartache, you'd be better off to listen to Carl's answer. Well, Mr. Cantalupi,
Yes, sir.
let's go ahead and jump right in with both feet, so to say.
Okay.
And we'll get this edition of the Gardener's Corner.
All right. One thing before I start, I was telling you my friend Jesse tried to listen to me
In Durham.
but was not successful. So I told him to go on the internet. You can hear the live stream of the audio on the internet, but you just won't get the video. So I think
that's right. RadioRoxborough.com. That's a great point. It sure is.
Or you can just Google WKRX 96.7, and it'll bring you up as well.
Yeah. You know, Carl, just think about the unfortunate people that do not have the capability of watching
Internet.
you and I on screen.
Well, yeah.
But you know what you can do? You can go to RadioRoxborough.com and watch past editions of the show.
Yeah.
And anyway, but I think we got a phone call.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. This is Keith in Timberlake. How are you all today?
Doing well, Keith. How about you?
Doing well. Our yard, in portions of the yard, looks like a mole superhighway.
Okay.
And my concern with in the big box stores, they sell these granules, but they kill ants. I don't want to kill ants because I think ants are beneficial to get rid of termites and stuff. Is there something, I've heard of milky spore, is there something Mr. Cantalupe would recommend to get rid of the grubs that the moles are going after?
First of all, it's a common misconception that if you put insecticides down to control white grubs, you're going to reduce your mole population.
I can't
Okay.
hardly hear on the phone.
I tell you what, Keith, if you will, do you have any other questions than the one about the moles?
No, that's it. I'll turn the radio on and I'll just take the answer on the radio.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Very,
All right.
very good. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, we had trouble with it last week. He couldn't hear, and so I don't know. But anyway, Carl, he seems to have a mole infestation in his yard, and he wants to know how to control it.
Yeah. There's a misconception out there if you use granular insecticides to kill moles that it will, to kill grubs, it'll affect the mole populations. That's not true because moles feed on other insects. They're carnivores, so they'll feed on earthworms and other soil insects. And also, if you try to put insecticides down now to kill white grubs, the white grubs are deep in the soil. So control is not going to be very good. So the harpoon steel trap is still the best way to control moles. Moles are solitary creatures. They build a maze of tunnels, and you think because if you have a lot of tunnels, you have a lot of moles. That's not true. But the harpoon steel trap is spring-loaded. You set it up over the mound, and as the mole runs through, it springs it, and the mole gets speared. And we do have an excellent publication at the Extension Office on controlling moles. It has good illustrations in it so that you can see how to set the trap properly. This is why many people that buy mole traps, they say that they don't work. It's because they don't set the trap properly. So give us a call at the Extension Office at 599-1195, and we'll send you out, or we can email you out the publication. And then once you have that, you can select your mole trap and then do some good.
You know, I think with the mole trap, it takes you a couple of days to realize the best location to set the mole trap.
That's right.
But Keith, as Carl said, if you just call up to the Person County Cooperative Extension Service Office and tell them that you would like to receive the publication about how to, set a mole trap, they can email it or send it to you by U.S. mail. And in the meanwhile, you can maybe pick up you a harpoon mole trap, and I think you would find really good success. And as Carl said, even though you've got a lot of tunnels, in most cases you only have one mole.
That's right.
So, all right, I got another caller. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Rob the Man Hall. What you doing up there?
How you? What can we help you with today?
Hall.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I got a good question with the call, Cantaloupe.
Yes.
Where can you get Kentucky 41 grass seed? You used to have the loads, but you can't.
Okay, I don't
My
know
son
about.
got some years ago, but I ain't been able to find any since then.
I don't know about Kentucky 41, but I know about Kentucky 31. that,
Yeah.
it's Kentucky
Yeah.
31
Yes.
fescue.
Is it the 31 you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, it's Kentucky 41. It's hard green or get grass.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but the old Kentucky 31 fescue is the one with the thick wide blade, the one that's used in pastures. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, no, sir.
Oh.
That's new to me. I've never heard about
I-
Kentucky 41.
And what do you want to use it for?
Put on your yard.
Okay.
I tell you what, have you checked with Camp Chemical?
Yes, I've checked every place in town. Nobody
T-
has it.
T.G.
I've even went
Brooks?
online.
All right, I'll look that one up. I've never heard of that before.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a question kind of stumped both of us. But
Yeah.
I've never heard of Kentucky 41.
No.
But the Kentucky 31, is a field type fescue that a lot of people use in yards.
Right.
But speaking of the fescue, Carl, maybe if you would go ahead and make mention that if you are going to be seeding a yard, although fall time of the year is the best time to do so, what is your suggestion if seeding a yard on the type of fescue to use?
Most people use what we call turf-type tall fescues, which combines the disease and heat tolerance of the old Kentucky 31 into a pleasing lawn grass. So the blades of turf-type tall fescues are it's not as wide as the K31, and generally there's different varieties of turf-type tall fescues, and the thing to do is to always select a blend of different turf-type tall fescue varieties. Varieties like Mustang or Falcon, and Rebel. These are usually combined together, and so that you have you get multiple disease resistance. But I'm just looking up on the internet now just to see if I can find something on.
The Kentucky 41.
Yeah, I see it is listed, and it says it's Kentucky 41 sun and shade mixture, and let's see. It's got different things. I'll have to do some more research on it to see if actually, if NC State recommends it or not, or what the attributes of it are.
I happened to notice something last night on WRAL TV5 where they were saying that this year it was going to kind of be a shortage of sod.
Oh.
Did you by chance see that, Carl?
No.
Well, I know we do have a sod producer here in Person County out at Carver Farms, and I just wonder how their sod is going. But yes, they was talking to someone that has more or less a setup over at the State Farmers Market to sell, sod,
Mm-hmm.
and they was just saying that it was going to be kind of a shortage this year. And now, Carl, is sod like a Bermuda grass, or is it a fescue?
Well, sod can be any type of grass. Sod is just a term that talks about, if it's the actual turf grass and the root system is cut, and you're putting down a roll of grass plants and roots, and you're setting on the ground. That's sod versus seed, establishing it from seed or sprigs or plugs. So sod is the actual mat of turf that you put down on soil that's been cultivated. So, and then you water it, and you usually will get good root initiation in about 2 weeks' time.
So now, when purchasing sod, you would know at the time of purchase what type of sod it is, I guess.
Right, and we always recommend getting sod from local growers in the state. The thing not to do is to buy sod. In a lot of the Sunday newspapers, you see these ads, in the sections that advertise zoysia plugs or other grass plugs, and they're grown. Who knows where they're grown, but they're shipped. Plugs are shipped with soil, and soil is heavy, so you're paying a lot, for dirt.
Right.
And a lot of times you get the plants and they just they're just dead, dead on arrival. So the thing to do is to always, if you want to buy sod or plugs, do it from local sources. And we do have a North Carolina Turf Grass Growers Association that you can go on the web and see all the people that grow turf grass sod.
Well, one nice thing about sod, you can be looking at bare dirt one day, and the next day be looking at green grass.
That's right. That's right.
But we got some good questions, and the gentleman that called in inquiring about the Kentucky 41, appreciate you mentioning that, and I'd never heard of it before. And
Yeah.
Carl is going to be doing a little bit more research, and in fact, one of the places that he located it on the internet, I do not know which business, but was it 60 pounds for $14.99, or did you pay any attention to the price, Carl?
I didn't pay any attention
Okay.
to the. Well, we'll get more information on it next time, because that's kind of piqued my interest. So
Okay.
we'll see what that's all about. But let's get into the topic at hand here. And now is a good time to start planting onions, spinach, and English peas in the garden. And as far as onions are concerned, you could start them either from seed, sets, or transplants. Starting from seed takes about 6 weeks to produce a good-sized transplant indoors before transplanting them outdoors. But that's one way to start. Seed is the cheapest way to start onions, but if you start from seed, it kind of produces irregular bulbs, and it's only good for early maturing varieties. A better alternative is to buy onion sets. An onion set is a small onion bulb that's grown from seed the previous year. And they can be used to produce green onions or mature dry bulbs. And when you buy onion sets, you should separate them into two sizes. Smaller sets that are smaller than 3/4 of an inch in diameter, the size of a dime, and then make another pile with larger sets. The large sets are used for green onions, as they frequently form a seed stalk instead of a bulb. And the small sets are the best ones that are used to go on and grow mature dry bulbs. For green onions, sets are planted about 1.5 inches deep, close enough to touch each other in rows 12 inches apart. When the plants are about 4 inches high, soil can be placed around the stems to produce long white stems, and they can be harvested in about 30 days. For dry onions, plant the sets in 1 inch deep, 2 inches apart in rows 12 to 16 inches apart, and the soil is not placed around dry onions, as this may induce the bulb to rot in storage. You can also buy onion plants or transplants. This is an easy way to produce an early crop of large mature bulbs. Practically none of the transplants will form seed stalks, and space the transplants the same as for onion sets. Now, in order for onions to form large bulbs, they need to be planted between February 1st, which is just coming up, and March 15th. Onions are adapted to a wide range of temperatures and are frost tolerant. And the best production is obtained when cool temperatures, around 55 to 75 degrees, prevail over an extended period of time, permitting good shoot and root development before bulbing starts. After bulbing begins, high temperatures and low relative humidity extending into the harvest and cutting period are desirable. So a constant supply of adequate moisture is necessary for best results. For onions started from transplants, a light mulch will help conserve moisture for uniform growth. Now, an important aspect of onion development is the length of day, or photoperiod. Photoperiod, along with temperature, determines when the onions form bulbs. Some onion varieties are short day types and form bulbs when the days are 10 to 12 hours in length. And this is what we generally use in the South. The short day types do best here. Other varieties are long day types, forming bulbs when there are 15 or more hours of daylight. This effective day length makes the short day types unsuitable for northern climates because they begin to bulb when the plants are too small. So, in other words, once the number of day length hours are satisfied, the plant will form a bulb regardless of its size. That's why it's important to plant onion sets or plants in our area as early in the spring as you can, to allow the plant to make as much shoot and root growth as possible to enable it to form a good-sized bulb during a 10 to 12-hour day length before the day length hours increase. The size of the mature onion bulb depends on the number and the size of the tops. For each leaf, there will be a ring of onion. The larger the leaf, the larger the ring becomes. Now, good varieties to buy, either as sets or transplants, would include Ebenezer, Excel, Stuttgarter, and Early Grano. These will mature into dry onions in about 100 days. Bunching varieties such as Beltsville bunching and White Portugal will produce a bunching onion or scallion with either small or no bulbs. White or yellow sweet Spanish and Bermuda onions are usually started from transplants. We harvest onions when 3/4 of the tops dry and fall over. On sunny, breezy days, onions may be pulled and left in the garden for a day or two to dry before they're taken to a curing area. Curing is done by placing them in a well-ventilated area until the necks are thoroughly dry. With warm temperatures, good air circulation, and low humidity, curing should be completed within 2 weeks after harvest, and onion tops can be braided together and hung in a cool, dry place, or cut the tops, leaving 1 inch of stem and hung in mesh bags. If properly dried and stored, onions will last all winter, and check periodically for rotting onions and discard. The yellow varieties of onions store the best, followed by the white, and the Bermuda types have the shortest storage time. So that's a little bit about onions. So you should really, get going and see the places that have the sets, get them, and get them in the ground as soon as you can.
And again, you said the best time to plant onion sets, February 1st to March 15th.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll head over to T.G. Brooks Company, located in Timberlake. Been in business since 1936. Head on out and see them for all of your plumbing supplies, hand-cut ribeyes, and lots of other things can be found at T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
Hey, your friends at T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake wish you a successful 2015. We probably are going to get a taste of real winter in cold winter days and nights this month of January, which suggests a trip out to T.G. Brooks Company, 413 Helena Maria Road in Timberlake. Cold weather needs are found there, like your furnace filters, stovepipe and stove mats, wood stoves, pipe insulation, plastic to put around your windows. You will find water heater elements, thermostats, pressure relief valves, ice melt, bird seed in 10, 25, and 50-pound bags, and sunflower and black oil seed too. They also carry Pride and Tracker high-protein dog food. You're going to find your shovels in case we have ice or snow. They have wedges, axes, and mauls for getting stove wood ready. They have gloves lined and unlined in leather and cloth. They're your first choice for well pumps and piping when water problems occur, with a selection of submersible and top-of-the-ground jet pumps, pipe, pump wire, and pipe fittings. They also carry cast iron cookware, and they fill propane gas bottles. Plenty of those dog foods await you, like we mentioned, the Pride and Tracker high-protein dog food. Also, they have 100% kiln-dried cedar shavings. You might need a thermometer for outdoors. Plan to spend a little time at T.G. Brooks Company talking about warmer days coming up in a couple of months and getting information on your future lawn and garden plans. In a couple of months, we'll be talking about putting out pre-emergent weed control. So come to the place people like to shop from all over the region. A local, friendly family business that has been faithful to the homeowner, farmer, and construction worker since 1936. Phone anytime you need advice at 364-2428. After all is said and done, get you a generous portion of hand-cut ribeye steaks. Prepare them the way you like them, pop them on your grill, and enjoy a delicious treat. Everything works out when you have a T.G. Brooks Day. No week is complete without a visit to T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. My name is Rob Hall. Mr. Carl Cantalupe of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service is here to share his knowledge. Carl divides his time between Person and Granville counties. We're going to continue to talk about some things that maybe you'd be interested in going ahead and get planted in the very near future. Mr. Cantalupe, what did Popeye the Sailor Man gain his strength from?
Spinach.
How about let's planting some spinach?
Absolutely, yeah. It's I think that it really took off, I guess, and it really did help the spinach industry. You know, I
You
like,
got your raw spinach.
Yeah.
You got your spinach dip. You got your cooked spinach.
Yeah, I think the fresh spinach is good. I just can't get my appetite around canned spinach.
Yeah. And that's what Popeye
He
loved.
always squeezed it out of the can, you know. But anyway, spinach seed starts to germinate when soil temperatures reach only 38 to 40 degrees. And so it needs to be planted early since the seed won't germinate well at warmer temperatures. And a lot of people that try to sow spinach in the hot summertime, they get very poor germination, and it's due to warm soil temperatures. They just do not like it at all. But spinach starts off slowly but rapidly increases its growth as warmer weather begins to prevail. And many newer types of spinach available are flat leaf types that are used primarily in the processing industry since the leaves can be easily washed and cleaned. But there are garden type varieties that have flat leaves, and this makes it a whole lot easier to wash the dirt off after you pick. Most garden type spinach is called semi-savoid. Savoid is another word for crinkled. And so it's easier to wash and clean than typical older varieties that are heavily savoid. Now, popular varieties include 7R, Marathon, Melody, and Grandstand. Bloomsdale Long Standing is an older, heavily savoid variety that's being rapidly replaced by these semi-savoid leaf types. You want to harvest spinach by cutting the leaves from the side of the plant to keep the plants growing and producing more leaves. At a certain point in the spring, the plants will bolt. Bolting is another term for producing a seed stalk. Early production allows more production before bolting occurs. Once the seed stalk is evident, cut the entire plant and salvage as much of the crop as you can by freezing or immediate use. And some newer varieties are slow bolting types that will resist bolting a little longer in the spring. So if you find varieties that say, I think an older variety used to be called slow bolt, and other types that say that they are slow to bolt, these are the ones to try. The earlier the variety, the earlier the maturing date you have, the better it is as far as bolting. So there's a lot of spinach varieties that only mature in 40 to 45 days. That's the ones you want to shoot for.
Okay. Well, now, Carl, when planting spinach, do you plant it in a row or do you sow it like a salad patch?
Either way. Of course, sowing it in a wide row will give you more productive area out of a small garden space rather than sowing them in a direct line. So it's entirely up to you what you want. If you sow them thickly, then you probably should go back and thin them to maybe 2 to 3 inches apart as the plants are growing up. Now, another cool season vegetable that can be directly seeded right now outside in the garden are English peas. As soon as you can work the soil, and snow or freezing temperatures will not bother them. Edible potted peas are eaten pod and all and are very sweet. Varieties like sugar snap peas. Then you have other varieties which are the Chinese peas, otherwise known as snow peas. These are harvested when the pods are still flat and the peas are still very small. These are used a lot in Chinese dishes. And then, of course, you got the regular garden pea that you shell. One thing you might want to do is select dwarf varieties so that you don't need to put up a trellis. Sugar snap peas, varieties such as Sugar Bon, B-O-N, is a good one that's dwarf. And as these dwarf varieties are planted, they kind of hold each other up as they grow. So you don't have to put up a trellis. And there's a new one that's out this year. I think it's from Burpee Seed, and I forget the variety name, but it's a dwarf variety that you can actually plant in a pot, a pot or container, and just have it on your doorstep. That's supposed to yield very well, and it's dwarf, so it stays pretty much contained. So that's one you can try as well.
Some very useful information. We are live in the studio today. If you just joined in, the Gardeners Corner program today is brought to you by T.G. Brooks Company and Goings Auctions. So if you've got a question for Carl, give us a call, 336-599-0266. Continuing talking about some things that you can be doing now. I know a lot of you is ready for springtime, ready to get out and maybe start doing some pruning and doing some planting. And as Carl has been talking about this morning, a good time to go ahead and plant onion sets and spinach. But now as far as pruning, Carl's going to be having a couple of different pruning demonstrations in the month of March. And you may say, why is he waiting until March? Mr. Cantaloupe, if you would explain.
Well, with a lot of different fruit trees, especially the stone fruits, peaches, plums, cherries, nectarines, these the wood is not as hardy as apple and pear wood. So if you start pruning these trees too early, you're going to get winter injury on what you leave behind. So it's a lot better to wait until the cold weather has passed and then do your pruning, so that you're past the winter injury stage. So we've got a couple of dates set up for pruning demonstrations. The locations are not finalized yet, but I thought I'd just throw the dates out now so you can get them on your calendar. Saturday, March the 7th, we'll have a fruit tree pruning demonstration in Person County, and on Saturday, March 14th, we'll have one in Granville. So you can get those 2 dates straight. Now, one of the things I wanted to show this morning, well, let's see. Let me talk about this first. The question always comes up: when is the best time to apply dormant oil sprays on fruit trees? Watch the weather reports and be prepared to apply dormant sprays to fruit trees when the temperature should be high enough, at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, so that the spray material dries before temperature drops to freezing. Otherwise, you might damage plant tissues. A dormant oil application on fruit trees and blueberries will help control scale insects if you have problems with scale insects. And remember that dormant oil is not a cure-all to control all insects that attack fruit trees. Timely applications of other insecticides throughout the growing season will ensure less insect-damaged fruit. But if you have problem with scale, which is an overwintering insect, the oil acts as a suffocant to kill the insect. Also, spider mite eggs will be killed by a dormant oil application. But these are really the only two reasons you should apply dormant oil. If you have other insects, they're best applied with insecticides during the growing season. When you apply dormant oil, you need thorough coverage of the limbs, branches, and twigs so that you don't get a reinfestation of insects from the unsprayed area of the tree. Applying the spray during mid to late morning is advised, so there's time for the spray to dry before the temperatures drop to freezing. Try to apply the oil before the buds swell. However, you can apply dormant oil on apples up to the fruit bud growth stage of green tip. That's when a little bit of green leaves are showing through the bud. But for the most part, you want to put on dormant oil when the trees are dormant. Another thing that other people are questioning right now are different how to prune grapes, and of course it's very difficult to describe how to prune a grapevine unless you actually show someone, because you can explain it, but it's really hard to do orally. So I put a couple of slides up here to show pictures of this first one is a muscadine grape. Muscadine grapes and bunch grapes are pruned differently. Muscadine grapes, or a lot of people call them scuppernong, even though scuppernong is just one variety of muscadine grape. Generally, you space the vines about 20 feet apart so that you have 10 feet of vine, 10 feet of area on either side of the trunk that you train 2 arms. And the fruit on muscadine grapes is produced only on 1-year-old growth. So once you have the arms formed on the trellis, then you take the growth that comes off of these arms, the 1-year-old growth from last year, and you prune them back to 2 or 3 buds. These are called spurs, and you prune these back to 2 or 3 buds on either side of the trunk, and that's really all you need are 2 arms that are trained on either side of the trunk, and you eliminate all the other growth. In fact, you can eliminate up to 90% of last year's growth on a muscadine vine, and you still have enough to produce a crop. And you notice here, these are trained on a trellis. The trellis is the best way to grow grapes. If you grow them on an arbor, I mean, it looks nice aesthetically, but at the top of the arbor every year is deposited more 1-year-old wood. Now, how are you going to get up on top of an arbor to prune it? And so eventually the thing breaks down, and so it's not a good way to grow grapes if you're really interested in production.
And with an arbor, you can only get to the underside.
That's right.
And with a trellis, you can get to either side, and it is certainly the way to go.
That's right. Now, bunch grapes are pruned differently, and you can see in this slide, instead of retaining 2 arms year in and year out, and then selecting pruning them back to spurs, bunch grapes, you're actually cutting off the arms each year, or we call them canes on a bunch grape, and that means that from the trunk you go out and you cut the arm off at 8 to 10 buds, counting from the trunk, and that's what will be producing fruit for you this year. At the same time, you look for another growth that comes off the trunk, and you cut that off to 2 buds, so that as the 8 to 10 bud cane is producing fruit for you this year, that renewal spur that you cut back to 2 buds is growing vegetatively. That means it's not producing fruit. So that at the end of the following year, that renewal spur has grown, and that will be your new cane to produce fruit that year. And then that 8 to 10 bud cane that produced the fruit, you cut that off completely at the trunk. So you've got another one that's going to take its place. So if you prune in this way, then this eliminates grapes being produced a mile down the road and up in the tree, because they're only going to give you fruit off of last year's growth.
Right.
So if you don't do anything to encourage the growth of new wood close to the trunk, pretty soon, the grapes are a mile down the road or up in the tree. So again, this is very difficult to explain without seeing it, and this is why we have fruit tree pruning demonstrations.
Well, I was going to say, Carl, when you have the fruit tree pruning demonstrations, again, March 7th in Person County and March 14th in Granville County.
Right.
And the locations of the fruit tree prunings have not been finalized, but at these locations they have some grapevines.
A variety of different types of fruits. Fruit trees, grapes, blueberries, blackberries, so we can show how to prune them all at once.
Well, that is really great. And anyway, when Carl gets everything finalized, we will be talking about it on the Gardener's Corner program, and maybe we can fix up a little public service announcement, radio ad.
Oh, yeah.
To run and let people be aware of where that they can come out and enjoy it, and it's a demonstration free of charge.
That's right.
And we are live in the studio, 599-0266 for the Gardener's Corner program. Now I see a line flashing, and we had several calls coming in at one time, so let's give it a try. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Good morning, Rob. I have a question on the wild onions.
Okay.
Okay, they are, it looks like a bed of them out near my daylilies. My daylily area is pretty clean, but beside of it, it is just a flood of wild onions. How do I get rid of those? Do I spray them with the same thing you do with crabgrass, with Trimic and a Claim Extra, or what do I do to get rid of those?
Yeah, if you can, if you don't, if the daylily is dormant and there's no growth there, you know, and it's all dead, you can probably use the Speed Zone or the Trimec and kill out the wild onions. Yes.
Okay. Can you go ahead and spray it if there's a warm day pretty soon?
Yeah,
Go ahead and do that now?
Yeah,
or?
those herbicides will be effective as long as the day temperatures are above 45.
Okay.
You'll get good control. It might take a little longer to kill the onion, but
Right.
But they'll work.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hey,
Thanks
thank
for
you
calling.
for your call. All right, we've got another caller. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Good morning. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to know, how do I get rid of moss? I have it in my flower garden, and I want to know what can I do to get rid of it and not hurt my flowers. I'm going to hang up and listen to you on the radio.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did she say she's got moss?
Moss.
Moss, okay. I first thought she said mauves, but she said moss.
I get those when I open my wallet. But anyway, yeah, moss is kind of a multifaceted problem because usually you have several things that are working with each other to produce the moss. Usually it grows in shady areas, areas under trees where grass is very hard to grow. Usually you have poor drainage, so the moss likes the moisture. And also your soil pH is probably low, which also is good for the moss. So you kind of have to do a kind of a multifaceted approach. You can try to increase the sunlight by pruning large limbs away on trees to let more sunlight in. Increase the drainage by trying to till it up, or till it as deep as you can, and then also take a soil sample to find out what your pH is, and then add limestone to bring it up. So, and she said it was in her flower garden, I think she said, and for flowers that like sun, if it's in a shady area, the flowers, of course, are going to do poorly. And for disease purposes, if the area is not drained well, she's going to have problems with soil diseases and then low pH. So you kind of have to attack it with a three-pronged approach to try to have the moss not be able to grow there. There are no chemicals you can spray to control moss.
Right.
So you have to do these other things to make it difficult for that moss to survive.
So it's not an overnight fix for it.
No.
Okay. That was a good question. It sure was. And appreciate the caller with that question. We need to get a word on for Goings Auctions. They've got a huge auction coming up in Sims, North Carolina, on Saturday, February 7th. Sims is located between Raleigh and Wilson. Here's more information from Goings Auctioneering. Goings Auctions NCAL 390 presents the Consignment Fundraiser Auction for Marsh Swamp OFWB Church in the Rock Ridge community in Sims, North Carolina. It's going to be Saturday, February the 7th at 10 a.m. To view photographs and a list of this auction, log on to goingsauctionsinc.com or call Mr. Greg Goings at 252-578-1623. They'll have tractors, trucks, farm equipment, collectible money, and other collectibles. This is one auction that you do not want to miss. It's coming up on Saturday, February 7th at 10 a.m. The sale site address is 6664 Rock Ridge School Road in Sims, North Carolina. Sims, North Carolina is located between Raleigh and Wilson, North Carolina. For more information on this consignment fundraiser for the Marsh Swamp OFWB Church in the Rock Ridge community, you can call Greg Goins at 252-578-1623 or log on to GoinsAuctionsInc.com. They are accepting consignments for this auction. Again, log on to GoinsAuctionsInc.com or call Greg Goins at 252-578-1623. This huge auction taking place in Sims, North Carolina, Saturday, February 7th at 10 a.m.
Whoops.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. We appreciate you tuning in. Auctioneering and T.G. Brooks Company. Mr. Carl Cantalupi is here, the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, and we appreciate him sharing his mind full of knowledge with us. Carl, let's talk about this just a moment. Coming up on the first Friday in March,
Yes.
it's going to be your specialty crop school.
That's correct.
Here at the auditorium at the county office building, correct?
That's right. Friday, March 6th, it's an all-day school. It will focus on successful growers of specialty crops. What do we mean by specialty crops? Fruits, vegetables, and other high-value horticultural crops that people grow and usually market them retail. We have two good asparagus growers in Burlington that are going to come to talk about their operation. A husband-wife team in Granville County that will be coming to talk about what they do, how they grow vegetables and bedding plants and sell at farmers markets. And then have another individual that is coming down from, I think this is how you say it right, Powhatan, Virginia.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. About 3 hours north of Roxborough, has a very good direct market fruit and vegetable operation. And, you know, what always intrigues me, this particular individual started into this operation without really not having much knowledge of how to grow specialty crops. But he's a retired businessman, and he knew exactly, you know, how he wanted to market and sell. And that's really all you need to get into growing fruits and vegetables. Many people are surprised to learn that the most successful growers of specialty crops are ones that have never farmed in their life. You can teach anybody how to grow something, but if you don't know how to sell it, especially out where we live in rural areas where you don't have the high population centers as you do in the bigger cities, if you're not willing to go out and do what it takes to get it sold, then you're not going to be very successful. And so this is what this individual is bringing to the table. He's going to talk about how he got started and his keen interest in his marketing background. And both he and his wife will also be presenting as well. So it should be an excellent school. The cost is $25 per person and $15 for each individual person that attends from the same family or business. This also includes lunch. So if you're interested in getting more information, just give us a call at 599-1195, and we'll send you the pre-registration form.
Okay. And Carl, I also received a letter about where you have another meeting planned for Granville County for people that are maybe interested in maybe raising food for child care centers, correct?
Yes. Another letter was sent out, and this is going to cover a wide area for people that live in Granville, Person, Franklin, Vance, and Warren counties. Daycare centers that operate that operate in those counties, and also letters will go out to growers in those counties to come together to a meeting between growers and daycare center or child care center providers, and to talk about what can be done about selling produce to daycare centers. And that will be at the Granville County Extension Office. That's a little ways out yet, but not too far away. Tuesday, February the 24th at 7 o'clock in the evening. We'll be talking more about that.
Okay. All righty, some very useful information. And I think that's going to about wrap us up today for the
Okay.
Gardener's Corner program.
Good calls.
Any parting remarks?
Hold the pruning tools. Don't get too excited, about getting the pruning done. Still got time to go. And but once we do have soils dry out a little bit, go ahead and direct seed spinach, onions, and English peas in the garden.
Okay. All righty, on behalf of Mr. Carl Cantalupi, myself, and the sponsors of the show, T.G. Brooks Company and Goings Auctioneering, thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate the support of our sponsors. We want to wish you and yours a happy and safe weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday for another edition of the Gardener's Corner program.